Hey everyone, I am Mad Max of Maxwell Manor, and we are doing the Triple S interviews, and we're interviewing illegally cited Jesse today. How's it going, Jesse?
It's been kind of a crazy week, but it's going pretty good.
Yep. You watched the first one with John, and you enjoyed it, and we figured, hell,
Yeah, I figured, hey, why not? Why
yep.
not? I seem to be blabbing a bunch of places lately, so podcasts and interviews and work and whatever. So hey, we're
And
good.
and there are plenty of fractals to zoom in on, so this is good.
Uh,
So anyway, I guess we'll get started. Where were you born?
I grew up in the middle of absolute nowhere, North Dakota. Grew up on
Nice.
a farm, so I there were parts of it that I really liked because it's just really nice. You can just be out in the middle of nowhere, do whatever. But at the same time, being legally blind, it kind of sucked because, especially even if, when you're a kid, you can't go anywhere. You got to get driven anywhere. And even, by the time people are getting their driver's license, like, well, I'm stuck.
It's hard to see far horizons when you can't see far horizons.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, kind of.
so
But yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool.
so what's your actual condition?
I have nystagmus, kind of the rapid eye movement thing. I forget exactly what the other thing is. It's some weird kind of uncommon thing that's like ungodly hard to pronounce, and so I just forget. That's kind of where I just started. Instead of having to explain that every time to somebody, I'd just be like, well, that's where the whole illegally sighted thing came from. Because it's really fun just to kind of get that pause and that quizzical look.
I do love that name. It fits so well.
I,
Especially
you
because
know, I I figure if you're legally blind, you got to be illegally sighted, right?
well, it definitely fits because of all the murder you commit in FPS games.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
so, what's your acuity? Isn't it like 2800 or something like that, or am I misremembering?
Yeah, no, my best eye is 2800. My other eye is worse, so it sucks, but you know what? It's like I'm thankful for what I have because um I still do quite a bit visually, even if I need magnification or even if some things are harder. So
Yep, and I
I
will
use,
be. Go
I
ahead.
use a combination of like speech and magnification and just whatever. So
And I will be linking Jesse's YouTube channel in the description. So if you want to see more of him, he does reviews, he does monthly updates. He's doing a little series where he talks about how he got into game accessibility and all that. And I'm sure we'll go over that too. But I wanted to plug your channel for you.
yeah, no problem.
So, being that low vision, what was school like? Were how accommodating are the sticks?
Well, I mean, well, you got to remember I'm old, so like I always tell people because during my day job I work with a lot of high school and college students, and I tell people if I had half the shit you guys do, God, I might have not actually absolutely hated school. Um,
I've heard.
because yeah, I grew up in like the '80s and '90s, so it's like and I'm this is going to be one of my future video topics for that series you were talking about too, but like kindergarten through sixth was a real pain because basically you had like here's a little dome magnifier that didn't help hardly at all.
Oh God, no! It's like
Um,
what, a 2x maybe if you were
oh
lucky.
yeah, no, it sucked. And then on top of that, it was here's your large print book. You ever have those large print books where it was like they're hardcover
Oh
and
yes,
they're
I
freaking
still have.
you have to stand up to freaking see the top of them
Oh yes, I still have the back
because
pain.
they're like 12 point font, maybe it's like 14 point font instead of 12.
Yeah, but
So
they've still got to rebind them and make them 50 fucking pounds a book because you had to take 4 or 5 of the bastards just to have one book.
right, so I mean that was the ascent of my combinations like for like the first 6 years. And in sixth grade I was I grew up enough to realize that what, this is bullshit, because I was like, well, it's taking other kids in the class 5-10 minutes to do something. It's taking me 3 hours. Well, guess what? I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do my homework. And the bane of my existence back then was, did you ever have to do those spelling books? Like where
Uh,
you had like the units and like, and then you had to do, they had like a list of words and then you had to put them in sentences and
no,
you have spelling tests and whatever.
they never had me doing that, but I have a similar disdain for homework if I already know the subject.
Yeah, well,
College was when I actually realized, oh, actually, I can do this homework because I kind of need to know this shit.
yeah, well, there's that too, but no, but the other thing, like I said, so, um, I struggled with it. I'm just like, you know what? I have better things to do. And so in sixth grade, the kind of the running joke that isn't really so much of a joke is that I probably spent more time in the principal's office than he did. And it wasn't because I was a bad, I wasn't like beating people up or anything or getting in fights, but it was just literally, I'm like, no, this is a pain. It's hard. It's awful.
It is
And
a
so I'm like,
pointless
I'm just not
endeavor.
doing it. Yeah. So I was in the office all the time. It was like it was funny because I still remember there was one time where I was sitting in the office. I was supposed to be doing my homework, and someone came in looking for the principal. He wasn't in because half the time he wasn't in and I was. It felt like I was his freaking secretary because it was like, oh no, he's not in today.
Should have given you benefits.
I'm just holding down the fort. Yeah, I know, right? So after that, I ended up. They said, well, maybe we should actually like teach him some stuff. And so, um, and like I said, sixth grade, I was in the office so much, and I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I'm, they claim otherwise, but I'm convinced that I probably didn't pass sixth grade, but she's just like, get the hell out of my classroom. I will pass you. Go away.
Yeah, that was my high school. I had to go to each of my teachers and beg to be passed.
But so seventh grade, I ended up going to a school for the blind for 1 year because it was like, well, this stuff you should have learned when you were probably, for second, third grade. I guess we'll start teaching it to you now. So I got more into like actually seeing more technology and Braille a little bit and like, all the blindy stuff.
Yeah, better later than never.
So yeah, so I went like public school part of the day and then the blindy stuff in the afternoon. And then after that year, I went back to my home, the hometown middle of nowhere school. But um, it was a little bit easier from then, but I still hated high school. I never really had a connection with a lot of my classmates, maybe one or two. But so that was crap. And then we had this, we had to take all these like physics and chemistry and algebra and all that stuff. And they were all done by this teacher. And it was just, I hated those classes so bad. Um,
They were just ill equipped to deal with you.
Yeah, and what's really funny is as much as I hated school back then, by the time I actually figured out more of the technology and the technology got better and all that kind of stuff, it's like I love learning. Like I read and stuff all the time now. Um,
You are not the first person to hate school and love learning.
oh yeah, totally, yeah. But like you said, so we would be the ones where um, my only saving grace is we had this old crappy computer lab, or we had a computer in the library. So we go in there during study hall, or we go in there and we'd make just some slight little adjustment. Like I'd be like, oh, well, let me just mess this up because our teachers didn't know jack. They were just like, whatever. So we'd kind of mess it up, and then they would come to the class, and when we're in a different class, and we'd be like, well, we're having trouble with the computer in there. And it's like, oh, I knew exactly what it was because we changed something.
Oh
And so
well,
they would call us. They call me out of class.
I guess I
And
could go look at it and see what the
yeah,
problem
I'd
is. Well,
pretend to troubleshoot it for a while. So we did that.
see, that's a smart way to cut class.
Yeah, exactly. Um, my favorite high school story though was, you'll love this one. Did you ever see one of those? I think they were called the Franklin Language Master,
Yeah,
the little dictionaries.
yeah.
All right, so we're sitting in class it was either at the beginning or the end of class, so we had a few minutes. And there's some other guys in class. They were just dinking around, and I'm just sitting there. And I had like a teacher's aide in that class just because she was writing stuff down from the board. And she was sitting there. And like I said, they were screwing around. And so she's going to tell them to knock it off. But instead, what comes out of her mouth is, Mike, quit being a dildo.
And this was before South Park did it.
The class just got quiet. You could hear a pin drop, and then everyone just started laughing. Like, what did you just say?
Did they give you a
And
college girl too?
She didn't know what it meant. She's like, "Oh, it's just a stupid person," and like we're laughing at her like all day. And so she's pissed at me. She's
Why
like, "Oh,
you
you think
didn't?
you're so?" Yeah, no, but it's funny. She's like, "Oh, you think you're so funny, or whatever." So I went and grabbed. I didn't have it at school that day. Just for the hell of it, I typed it into the little language master at home,
Oh, nice.
and I looked it up. And so someone had brought something up the next day, and we started laughing again. She, okay, then you think you're so cool. You prove it. So all the guys crowd around my locker. I type in the word and hit read. It read the definition, and she was like just so humiliated. She's like, "Oh my god!" And she just like ran away downstairs. It like never brought it up again. It was the funniest freaking thing.
They did not give you a college student like they did me.
Oh no, no, no! This was no. I worked with her pretty much.
God, at least they gave me a
From like,
college girl who got paid to do it.
oh no, no, she was no, she was like an adult lady. She was, I don't know, probably in her 30s or something,
Oh
40s at the
God, that
time.
makes it worse.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, that's what was funny. That's why it was so funny.
Oh, that's great.
It's so good. I'll never forget that.
Did you have any high school romances or anything to speak of?
Yeah, no.
I'm betting that's going to be a common answer to that question, but I'm still going to ask it just for the hell of it.
Yeah, no, no. I was never that person.
Never could see yourself to a girlfriend, huh?
Nope.
Yeah, you
Nope.
fixed that up in the end.
I was kind of the outcast. Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple girlfriends since, but they didn't work out either, unfortunately. So,
Lessons learned.
yeah, right.
So did you take time off from high school to college, or did you just jump from one to the other?
I pretty much actually, I went right into college simply because, again, like I said, there were parts of living in the middle of nowhere, living on the farm that I liked, but it was just that I really couldn't do much. It was just, okay, I worked on the farm and whatever. So after I graduated, I literally moved out like the day before I turned 18 because I took like one summer class at the college. So I moved up there and kind of got started just so I could kind of mess around over the summer and take a class and then start really in the fall. So yeah, I started college right after.
That's cool. Did you end up graduating, or what'd you major in?
Um, well, it was a little bit of a rocky, well, not rocky, but it was a little bit of a longer journey because I started out in computer science. I started taking a couple programming classes only to realize that I suck at programming. So we're not going to do that anymore. And a couple years into my first college, I decided to transfer to a nearby college. And the problem with that was is that it worked fine. And when I transferred, I asked them specifically, I said, "Hey, is this going to are these credits going to transfer?" "Oh yeah, yeah, they'll transfer." Okay, cool. What they neglected to tell me is, yeah, they transferred, but they transferred primarily as electives. So I had a shit ton of electives, and I had to take a lot of my core classes again.
Oh
So I
no.
had so I had enough. Basically, I had enough classes where I only had to take like two classes, I think it was, and then I do like the IT information technology major, and then I had a technical communication minor because I just like, well, I have all these extra credits, may as well.
Might as well put them to something, yeah. So,
Yeah, and like, college was fun. I mean, college was great. That was that was a lot of fun, but yeah, it was after college that was the rough. That was rough.
did you end up getting a bachelor's, master's?
I got a bachelor's degree, and then I got that minor, and then the I did get a master's eventually, but it wasn't. I didn't go for my master's right away because what happened after college is I'm looking for work. I'm like, okay, I got to get rid of some of these bills. So I would apply for jobs. I mean, and if you're going to do like a proper job search, you have to treat it. I always tell people, you have to treat it like a full-time job in itself. You can't just apply for a job or two and expect, oh, I should probably get one.
Oh yeah, that's what I was
Especially,
told when I was.
especially, especially if you're blind or disabled or anything, you got to work 4 times as hard as everybody else does.
Yeah, you've got to put in
Um,
like 4, 6, 8 hour days.
oh yeah, I mean, I had like Excel sheets on like, oh, like who I applied to, where I was at in the process. I had like cover letters and resumes and all kinds of crap. But I was unemployed for 3.5 years after college, and I was broke to the point where, I was like, do I pay my rent or do I pay my utilities or do I eat this month?
Were you living
Or
in North Dakota again, or were you living
no,
near your?
Minnesota,
Oh, so you were living near your
Minnesota.
college.
Yeah, yeah, I had gotten an apartment in that, and so I really didn't. And I'd pay some of my bills with a credit card just because I couldn't go back and live at home. My parents said, "Well, you can come live at home until you get a job." I'm like, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I really can't because what if I got a job interview? You're working, dad's working, mom's working. What am I going to do?"
Can't exactly make a Zoom
Um,
call.
right, right. Because this was, yeah, I mean, I graduated college in '03. And so it's like, yeah, there was internet and computer, but nothing like we have now.
So yeah,
And
you're
so
about.
I had to live somewhere where I had like at least the possibility for transportation or doing something.
And hey, crappy
So,
buses are better than dirt roads.
hmm and I had some friends, like if I had to go somewhere, I could get, rides to whatever. So that worked out too. But like I said, I was unemployed for like 3.5 years. Probably hundreds, if not thousands, of rejection letters and whatever.
And none of them ever
And
said it was because you were blind because of the ADA, but yeah, we all
right,
knew.
right, right. And you can only be told, like, you're qualified. Like, you get, I always get the interviews and then it just wouldn't pan out in a job.
Oh,
So
I never got the interviews. I was always looking forward to those.
no, I would get the interviews. I would get some phone interviews. I would get some in-person interviews. Hell, I had a couple companies actually fly me out to different places. I'm like, oh, I got this. Nope. And so, like I said, being super broke, being, like I said, just being like, oh, you rejected constantly. Um, Pretty good bout of depression there for a while because, like, you can only be told you're useless so long before you're like, okay, I get it.
What finally
Um,
turned the
you,
trick?
right. Well, eventually, what I ended up doing, because the other problem that I started running into was during the interview, they would say, oh, well, I see you graduated in, let's say, '03. Well, what have you been doing since? You don't have anything on your resume. I'm like, well, I've been applying for work. And so I had to do something, just if nothing to put on my resume or something. So I'm like, well, I guess I could get a master's, even though I don't really want to. So I started a master's, which I did end up getting, but that was a weird thing too. But then shortly into that, basically I did this volunteer job. It was like this year of AmeriCorps.
Something to put on
So
your resume at least.
yeah, you get paid, but you get paid a stipend, but it's like still you're making ghetto pay basically. It's you don't or you're not making much.
Is that one of the government gigs or?
It's people call it like it's kind of like the Peace Corps, except it's like yeah, it's in. I was in like Minneapolis, St. Paul, and so I worked at a couple of public libraries.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for about a year, and then I was doing my master's at the same time via distance. And then, like I said, I knew that was only going to be a temporary thing. So I was hoping, God, I hope this is going to be enough to get me into somewhere permanent. And then I got a job. Again, I was still applying, couldn't get anything local. Somebody ended up offering me a job in Florida. I'm like, well, I guess where I'm going.
It's a job.
So I lived in Florida for 3.5 years,
Did you
working for a nonprofit doing technology training.
Nice. Did you have a celebration when you finally got that damn job?
Well, it was so funny because I remember it because I was I was just waking up and the phone pretty much woke me up. It was spring, it was super hot already, and I had my mattress plopped out on the living room floor because I had one of those crappy wall unit air conditioners. The bedroom was so hot I couldn't sleep in there. So I'm lying on the floor trying to wake up and I get this call. And I answered as like, hello, just really groggy. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're calling. We'd like to offer you the job. And by this point, I'm so used to rejection, I'm just kind of like, wait, what? And I'm half asleep.
You
So
actually
like,
did the trope.
I pause, and the person's like, oh, are you not interested anymore? I'm like, oh, no, 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 I'm actually interested. Yes, yes, I will take the job. So
Let's get
yeah, it
that right
was,
out of the way.
yeah, yeah. So that I got that job. Worked there, and then I found out about the job that I'm currently doing now. I found out about that opening, and so I've been working here now for like 13 years.
You back in Minnesota or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, that's great, man.
yeah.
I'm glad you
So
finally found it
yeah,
13
so
years
it's been,
ago.
yeah, no, shit. It's been a journey because, like I said, like I said, just lots of searching, a lot of rejection. Doing the master's thing just so was saying that I was doing something. Eventually got the jobs. And then I was working on my master's because I was only doing like a class or two a semester because I was working full time and doing other stuff too. So my master's actually took me a few years to complete. So that was fun. But I mean, it was cool, but yeah.
Well, it just goes to
So
show there has to be a certain amount of adaptability in regards to finding jobs and stuff. I mean, if the accepted mode of getting work won't work for you, you've got to go and try find other ways and means. And thank God you found legal ways and means, because a lot of people who go through 3, 4,
right.
5 years of not being able to get a job.
Well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, because there was a point where it's like I would have just until I found something in my field. I would have just gone to work at the local McDonald's if they would have freaking hired me
Yeah, but even then,
just to get a paycheck.
just to say you've got something on your resume, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well, and just to get a little bit of income.
So now you've been up there. I know you've got your house. I've see you you do renovations and stuff on it all the time. Are you married now or not? I can't
No, no,
remember.
no, no. I'm not in the house at all.
I thought you were in a house.
No, no, I'm not. No, I'm not actually.
Huh.
I think you're thinking of somebody else actually.
Could have sworn you did like renovation projects or something.
No, I'm not what you would call super mechanically inclined. I'm a nerd.
It's the second time now I've misremembered somebody. This is gonna be an ongoing thing too.
Good job, man.
I know, right?
There
Making memes by the day. That's what I do.
you go. No, I've been in the same apartment since I got up here. It's a one bedroom apartment, but it's a big apartment. It's a nice place to live, but um I mean it's just me, so it's like what do I need a whole house for? I don't need a mortgage and a $400 electric bill every month.
No, you get that when you get the wife.
Right.
Hey, I got my credit card when I got my wife. Before I met her, didn't have a
Yeah.
credit card. Now I've got a credit card, 10K limit.
No, I had a like I said, I had a credit card a little bit in college and after because I was using it to pay some bills. Finally got that paid off several years ago, and ever since I've pretty much, unless I absolutely need, I think I technically still have accounts, but I don't think any of the cards are actually active because I'm like, if I don't have the cash, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to that point myself.
Because as broke as I was before, that has kind of been my vow ever since. Is I am not. ever going to go back and live that way again because it was just awful.
So I'm guessing after you got the career is when you got into accessibility? Or did it just kind
Um,
of dovetail in from there?
it was kind of a thing. Well, I mean, I've been using this stuff all my life. Um, because of my vision. So in college, I would do a couple of part-time jobs, working either at like the technology center at the college, or they would help students, or they would help staff as they're putting their courses together. Because we were actually when I transferred. Um, I was actually at literally the first laptop university in the country.
Nice.
So everyone was issued a laptop. We had this was before great Wi-Fi, so we had these, desks or tables, and everyone had Ethernet connections at their desk. It was pretty cool, but so they were doing a lot with like what's really common now, but we were using like online courses and hybrid stuff and whatever, and so I would work with that, and then I would work in the disability services office, like if there were other disabled students that would come in and have questions or need a little bit of help. And like I said, it's ironic as hell because as much as I hated school growing up,
There you are at the college helping
if
them
you would have
out.
told, well, yeah, and then I mean, and then my main job is um, when I was in Florida was I was a technology instructor, and I still do a little bit of that during assessments and stuff, and even like some of the video content that I do. So it's like if you would have told me in high school that I would have been like a teacher or anything like that in the future, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, my life is very similar. If you'd have told me when I was a kid that I'd be exercising for hours upon hours a day, I never would have believed you. But it's
Right.
amazing what life will throw at you.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like life throws this crap at you to make you eat your words as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's just this stuff that I do out of spite because it's like I've been told that it's like, oh, you can't do that, or no, you can't do that, or no, you shouldn't do that. I'm like, oh well, guess what? I'm gonna anyway.
And that's how Jesse
Um,
jumped Springfield Gorge.
and broke every bone in his body, and yeah,
Good reference. Very
there
timely.
you go. Oh yeah, yeah, no, I knew exactly what you're talking about. That was one of the first episodes. I think that was one of the first, if not the first Simpsons episode I ever saw.
Yeah, it was me too. It was a rerun on Fox.
It was somebody had, I don't, it was on a tape. Someone had taped it, and I had seen it. I think it was either the first or second Simpsons. I think it was the second one. I think the first one I ever saw was the one where Homer was jealous of Ned's RV, and they got that just crap bucket RV. I think that was the first one I ever saw.
Yeah, the first one I ever saw was the first scene I ever saw was Homer falling down Springfield Gorge.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great episode. Um, but the heck were we talking about again?
Things, stuff, accessibility.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I did, like I said, I did some training and stuff. And then it was just like, well, I'm not getting any jobs for what I went to college for. It could be anything from help desk to networking to server stuff that we had went through. So I wasn't getting any of that. I'm like, well, I guess I'll look in this area because I know I'm more than qualified for that.
That is not a
And I
unique problem to blind people, I can tell you that.
no, and to me, the weird observation is I was talking with someone about this the other day, and I've thought about this a few times where I think some people break out eventually, but there's this weird, like, perpetual, like, circle of, oh, you get training, then you become a trainer to train the new people, who then become the trainer to train new people, and it just over and over and over again. So it's like disability people working with people with disabilities. And it's
Yeah.
like you don't get as many people like, oh, I'm going to go be a lawyer, or oh, I'm going to be uh, I don't know, I'm going to be, whatever mainstream, take your mainstream job that doesn't work with disability.
Well, you and
But
you and John and I all got told the same lie. Comp sci. Everyone said comp sci because In the 90s and 2000s, that was the thing. I mean, that was the booming business. And they figured, well, gotta put them somewhere. Might as well be a thing they can kind of use.
Well, and I could have probably done it. Like, it wasn't really a technical thing. It was just, like I said, I just realized that I sucked at programming, so I took a different path.
But still, it ended up working out in the end, even if it wasn't the exact field you thought you'd get into. I mean, because at the end of the day, you either get a job you love, or you get a job that gives you the money to buy things that you love.
Well, and that's just it because, like, my day job now, I work, like I said, primarily for a while I worked with, high school students, college students, but mainly adults who were looking for work and needed some like assistive technology or something. But the last several years I'm mainly working with like transition students, and it's kind of neat because during my day job, like two of my things is, like I said, I love game accessibility, I love gaming, but I also think that, like, we've talked about this on like messages and stuff before, but like, I'm blindness by itself really doesn't have to be a debilitating disability, so we should be expected, just like everyone else, to go to school, go get a job, pay your taxes, even though no one likes doing it, but we should be a productive member of society just like everyone else, and not just mooch off, get my monthly check
Get the
and we're
government fund
good.
bucks, yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of always been my thing, and I mean, especially when I see people that have, like, I can tell they're smart. I can tell that they have a lot of potential, and they could do, like, oh, you'd be good at that. You'd be good at this, and
They
that's
lack
just one of
the
my other. That's just sort of one of my other passions, I guess, is because people have a low enough expectations or low enough feeling of people with disabilities as it is. We don't need to contribute to that problem.
yeah. Well, the way I've always thought of blindness is when you are blind, either you're born it or have it later in life, you get all the doors closed. Well, not all of them, but enough of them, depending on how blind you are. Enough of the doors are closed. And your
Hmm.
job is to find all of the windows that lead through all of the doors that you can possibly get through. You can't get through all the doors. Like, we'll never be able to drive. But there's enough
Hmm.
windows to get through enough doors that you can get through it. But when you have invisible conditions, that's definitely not how it goes. But something
Right.
concrete like vision issues or hearing issues
Right.
or mobility issues, that can be worked around.
Hmm.
And I also encourage a lot of people, if all you've got are, you're blind or you're deaf or you have mobility problems, get out there and try to get something. If you can't, I mean, at least you say you tried.
Well, right, right. And I mean, and like I said, you're gonna have to be persistent. Like I said, people go to college all the time. Like, I work with clients all the time that are like, oh, well, I go to college, and oh, well, now I can just go get a job. God, if only it were that easy. Because I'm not the only one. Half my other friends who I know who are visually impaired, boy, howdy, they have worse employment stories than I do.
Oh yeah, I've looked into the numbers. It's really, really bad. The ADA did not help us as much as HW thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't
Hmm.
exactly done as much harm as I was led to believe it had, but it's definitely not helped us as much as it could have.
No, I mean, no, it has helped. But I do tend to think that, yes, there are some things that are just inherently not accessible, whether it's like a website an employee has to use, or a piece of software, or some job duty, but a lot of it can be worked around, and I think just a lot of the barriers are, nothing to do with us. It's more to do with the attitudes of everybody else.
Yeah, and the big lesson that I learned when I was 16 and went through that job training thing was you have to know how to sell yourself. You have to be confident in yourself because if you're not confident in yourself, your employer is not going to be confident in hiring you. And
Mm-hmm.
selling yourself only gets you so far, but it gets you a hell of a lot farther than just, yes manning. Well, I can do this and this and this. No, you've got to be on that shit. You've got to be, I put in all this work. I know for a fact I am better than the next guy because I put in all this work to get over all this, crap that's wrong with me to do my job better than anyone. You've got to be able
Hmm.
to really market yourself. And for some people, especially if you're really introverted, that is really hard to do. It's really hard to fake that.
Yeah, and I've gotten a lot better at that in the last 10, 15 years because I am totally an introvert. Um, but yeah, you really have to know, like, if everyone else has to be like 95% of the way, you have to be like, 130% there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to show that. And like I said, okay, because the ADA, they can't ask you certain questions. But I think, especially if you get to the interview, I think it's highly in your best interest to offer some of that information yourself. I mean, what I started doing, I didn't do right away, but what I started doing during interviews is I would bring a laptop because there wasn't an iPhone or Android phone back then. I'd bring my laptop to an interview and like I would offer some information or say, hey, if you have any questions, let me know. And I had the stuff on the computer. It's like, oh yeah, this is what I do. This is how I do it. It's fine. Um,
It puts the employer at
because
ease.
they want to ask.
Well, it also
You
puts the
know they
employer at
do.
ease. It lets them know that you can do your job and here is how. And
Hmm.
even if it's just, oh, he has technical gobbledygook that lets him do it. Cool.
Right. Yep.
And
So yeah.
that's kind of where we got hamstrung. I think is that a lot of us like me, I mean, I got told I was unhireable, and I mean, obviously, I've got the lung issues, the fibro issues, but I have to bet that a lot of legally blind and blind people got told eventually by Voc Rehab that they just aren't going to get hired. And if you're told that by like a government
Yeah.
agency, that is going to crush your self confidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, even look at, even like me, being told not necessarily by the college, but applying for jobs, how many years you can only be told no for entry level jobs so long before you're like, God, am I just that stupid?
Did you get the overqualified bit?
There was probably a few, but I said I was just applying for anything and everything because at that point I didn't really care what I got. I just wanted to work and
Yeah,
not be broke anymore.
that was me from 18 to 28, and then Voc Rehab told me you will categorically never be hired because of your lungs. I was like, well, Jesus, you could have told me that 10 years ago, guys.
Well, and that was the thing, like, before I started talking to you a little bit more, like during Twitch chat and everything and stuff, is that, you know, you struck me as someone who's like, oh, dude, like you're doing technology stuff all the time. You're good at, talking and this skill and that skill. Like you could totally do something, either like work from home or something like that. Like because I didn't know about some of the other stuff that you had going on.
Yeah, the invisible stuff kind of caught all of us off guard. I think if we'd all known that my lungs and the pain problems were going to be as bad as they were, we would have done a lot of things
Hmm.
differently. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I've somehow cobbled together a good life, and um, when it comes to advice that I give to other people, it's just look, try your damnedest. If you have to take the check, it's not an admission of failure by you. It is an admission of failure by the society that doesn't want you. Because
Hmm.
I know for a fact if I were given a job, I would work my ass off. But
Hmm. Hmm.
considering I'm a liability, that's not my fault. That's the state's fault for not wanting to give me that chance. So I'll make my own damn way with interviews and accessibility stuff and blackjack and hookers.
And forget the hookers and blackjack.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I love
We're
that.
in
I
our
love that
40s.
show.
We're too old for blackjack and or hookers unless we go to like an Indian casino up here.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Bender's great.
Yep. Bender is great.
Bender's the best.
Oh, John DiMaggio. Great voice
So good.
actor.
I'm so glad. Oh, yeah, John DiMaggio's great voice actor.
He's so distinctive.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you can immediately tell when it's him. Because there was even, I don't know if you ever played the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
Oh, that was a great game.
He does some of the guards.
Yeah. And it's immediately obvious. It's the same thing with that
Yeah,
guy who
like,
plays Joe Swanson. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. It's such an iconic
oh,
voice.
right. Yep. 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 But yeah, I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at as far as like my day job, and then all this other stuff I've gotten into. That's just been a wild ride too.
How'd you get into the video game side of it?
Well, I've always wanted to be like, you know, I grew up playing video games, trying to play video games despite my parents trying to thwart me at every turn. Because it was like, oh, we know you're hooked on these things, so we're not gonna let you. We're not getting you new games or systems, or we'll hide the controls from you, the controllers, because we don't want you to play.
That was a fun story. I liked that story from your
Yeah,
video. You searching out the controllers and getting caught. Look.
gotta
The
do it,
important thing
man.
is you found the damn things. With your
Hey,
eyes, that's
man,
an accomplishment.
you got to do that. You got to be an addict, man. You got to do it.
Look, in terms of being
But
addicted to things, it's better video games than hard drugs, right?
yeah, yeah, right, right. But no, I mean, I've always been into video games, and like you said in your other videos, yeah, all of us kind of wanted to design video games at some
Yep.
point. And so I thought I was going to be a programmer or something like that. That fell through, and I'm like, well, I don't know what I was going to do. And I kind of put the whole video game thing on the back burner. But in college, as one of my classes, we had to make a website
Oh God.
from scratch. So code it, which I can do basic HTML. It's just programming I can't. HTML isn't programming. That's just markup. So I made this just cheeseball simple website, and I wrote a couple articles, reviews, whatever. Somebody had actually found it, God forbid, and they asked if I wanted to write for the website. So I wrote for that Nintendo website for a couple of years. Unfortunately, that went under. And then someone else found me and asked if I would write for their site. So I wrote for them for a couple of years. That went under. And then I really didn't write anymore, because I thought, that was right around that time was when, you started seeing stuff like IGN, GameSpot, those types of things. So I'm like, well, if I can't make them, maybe I can write about them. Maybe I can do reviews and previews, and maybe I'll get to go to E3 one year. That would be awesome.
And now E3 is dead.
And now E3 is died a very painful death.
And how?
But yeah, so that was probably until about 2005, 6. Then I really didn't do much because it was just a struggle of finding work, getting out of the hole. And my friend and I got hooked on Minecraft during the early days. It was like alpha or beta. And so instead of just sharing stuff on a server or whatever, like, oh, well, I can try this. I heard about this program called Fraps, and I'm like, oh, and it seems like seems pretty easy. I could probably whip together a YouTube video.
God,
So I
fraps,
did a.
that takes me back.
Oh, I know, right?
I can
And
still see the little
so,
logo up top.
oh yeah, yep, totally, yep. And so I did a couple of videos. I did this like Minecraft castle tour thing, and I'm like, oh, that was kind of interesting. So I started doing. By that point, Giant Bomb was a thing, and so I liked their quick look videos. And it was kind of a double-sided thing, or it was two advantages. It was I like their style. I didn't want to do the really scripted. I hate when people just read stuff from a script when it's so obvious. I don't like
Oh,
that.
I'm terrible about script reading. I read way too fast. And it's
Well,
really
no,
obvious.
I can't read. That's why even when I do streams or videos, I don't read aloud very often because it's just I can't do it well. But even if I could, like I don't like and the graphics are really good. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's not your vibe. It's the same reason I don't like
No,
doing editing. Even if I could use an editor, I wouldn't, just because I like
right.
the off the cuff
And
stuff.
that's the other reason is I like their style of their quick looks, and it also meant, hey, I don't know shit about video editing, and I don't really have to if I do them this way. Haha, laziness prevails.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I did
So
it.
one take, baby.
Yep.
Uh, so I did a few YouTube videos, and like I'd say for the first, because I started in 2012, believe it or not, I've been doing this for over 10 years. And for the first few years, like I was lucky to see 10 views. It was just nobody, nothing. And then I went through work. I went to the CSUN Assistive Technology Conference in California,
Yeah.
and that was a blast. That was really cool. And one of the sessions that I attended on the last day was from Ian Hamilton on game accessibility.
Oh, Papa Ian.
Oh yeah, the, Ian is like the original man. He's like the guy.
I call him the high mucky muck of accessibility.
Yeah, he's way up there, man. He's the man.
I should start calling him the OG just because it's so incongruous to how he acts and is.
No, oh he's yeah no he's totally the OG. He's the original man. But I attended his talk, and then we chatted a little bit after the session, and we emailed a little bit back and forth, and he just kind of gave me some other ideas. And around that time, because Apple being Apple, they are really closed off, and you couldn't natively screen record, and there weren't programs to allow you to do it. I found a short-lived hack because there was an app that was on the App Store for like a day and a half or a half a day that I happened to find and download before they pulled it. So I had iOS videos for a short while, but then iOS 7 came out and broke it. And so I couldn't do it anymore until I figured another option out. But like right around that time is like that was 2015 is right around when game accessibility really started to take off. And I like I said I went to his session, got some ideas, and I really focused on a little bit more specific things, both with the channel, with Twitter, um, got some ideas on like how to get connections, and even up to that point for the past couple of years I had been reaching out to developers, app developers, game developers, um, asking about like how they could probably improve their app accessibility or their game accessibility. And then I don't know, just one thing kind of led to another. I think when I like I said when I started covering iOS stuff more, that's when the audience kind of showed up because that's where all the blind people were mainly playing games because that's where some of them were actually coming out.
Yeah, I don't know
And
what was up with that, but blind people. I mean, back when I was younger, it was all Apple, and it was the
mm-hmm,
damnedest thing. Because I mean, our school districts ended up transitioning into PCs, but all the blind groups stuck with Apple. And all I could think of at the time and now is, good Lord, how can you all afford all of that? Luckily,
well,
they've been branching out since then, but for a
I mean,
long,
in
long
grade
time there.
school, yeah, I mean, in grade school we had the Apple IIs and stuff, but no, like junior high, high school, it was all PC from then on for me. But I mean, I didn't go back to Apple until the iPad and iPhone because I had a Windows mobile phone for several years. Thank you very much.
I love the
Mobile
pride.
speak pocket baby. Um, oh yeah. So I started doing more accessibility stuff, and eventually people would start reaching out to me a little bit more. Um, so developers would reach out to me. Um, I was asked to present a couple different places. Around that same time, I found out about this interesting little technology called virtual reality, and I just had a PC built that could run it. And so I said, "Yay, I'm going to buy an Oculus Rift because I actually have money now. Yay."
What a
And so I
strange
bought,
sensation.
yeah, right. So, and that was sort of my thing. It was like, that's what I was trying to do with the channel and everything. It was like, I'm trying to figure out, well, by that time, there was already a lot of gaming channels out there, technology channels and stuff. That was sort of my niche because when I started, there weren't that many people. There weren't that many people that, at least that I knew of, who were blind or visually impaired or had disabilities that were doing channel stuff. And then if I could make it more specific or I could be a little more unique by doing VR stuff.
All's the better, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I started doing that. And it just sort of grew. I'd get people reaching out to me. I started getting people to follow on Twitter. And between the YouTube channel and Twitter, I can't tell you how many opportunities that has opened up professionally. Just like even me being, like I said, I'm an introvert. So being able to actually present better, being able to talk and present better, that helps for my day job. Um, yeah, ended up finding a girlfriend through that, that was really interesting. Unfortunately, that didn't work out, but hey, but like there's just so many things. Like professionally, I've done speaking engagements. I was asked to present at the Game Accessibility Conference a couple times now, a couple other odds and ends. So yeah, and then I've worked with indie developers and a couple AAA developers. Um, might even have a couple of things that I can't talk about coming up here pretty soon, hopefully.
What's your biggest
So
get thus far?
I haven't had a real specific game that I can tie myself to. I don't have that type of credit yet. That would be really cool. But I have worked with companies like Microsoft and Ubisoft and um, a couple other big AAA developers. I did get to go to a Microsoft studio a couple of years. That was early 2020. It was literally like probably 3 weeks before the pandemic started. They flew
Nice.
they flew me out to Seattle um, for a whole day to meet in person with one of their big developers. And I'm curious um, if any of like the types of things that we talked about show up in one of the future games.
Because yeah, that
So
is something to keep in mind for all the people watching this who might not know. Change takes a long damn time from word of mouth to implementation because you've got to figure out how to actually implement it, and depending on the engine, that can be a real pain in the ass.
well, they had the European Game Accessibility Conference earlier this week, and there's a session you should look up. Sightless Combat was part of it, and they're working on this project that they're going to try to come up with a prototype later this year, soonish, I think. But it's called Project Black Cat, and I actually talked about it in today's bonus video that I just released like an hour or two
Yeah, I
ago.
was noticing that.
Um, and it was it's so easy, and like I'm guilty of it sometimes. I'm like, God, this is frustrating. Why doesn't, like, you got to do better than this? But sometimes some of the simplest things can be so problematic. The person that he was working with, she was programming everything, and she was just trying to get something really simple, like, oh, let's get a menu option to read, or let's get a button to actually speak. And the amount of crap that she had to go through, people think it's like, oh, just hit a couple switches, type in a little bit of code, and boom, you got accessibility.
Yeah, it's
That
not
is
that easy.
not how that works
The thing I've
at
learned
all.
is it doesn't even so much depend on the engine, it depends on the individual game you're working on. If you've got spaghetti code in a very specific area, that completely precludes any kind of accessibility. Because if you
God,
can't
yeah.
get past that little bit of code, you're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm not too hard on devs. That's also why I throw every idea that I can at them because you never know. The dumbest idea could actually
Oh,
work,
yeah.
and the simplest idea could be impossible, like you said.
One of the most fun videos that I remembered that I did recently, it was kind of on a fluke, and I thought, you know what, let's just try this. A month ago or so, when they had that Diablo 4 open beta,
Oh, I remember that video.
I was just gonna do like, oh, well, let's do a demo video. And I'm like, no, they're looking for feedback.
I'm gonna fucking give it to them.
People want to know what it's like to get into to do this type of work. How detailed that you have to be. Like you can't just say, "Oh, this isn't accessible, make it better." A lot of stuff that you were doing on
You've
your
got
channel, like where you would look at a game and you would have your notepad file open and you'd write it down, but like literally you're playing and then you take that doesn't work, or oh, this is an idea. You write it down,
Yeah, and
and you have to be detailed.
my thinking in that was if the devs really cared about accessibility and they've got the time to kill, they'll see exactly how I do it, or they can just go to the description and
Hmm.
read
Well,
and
right,
read the
right. But I
copy paste
mean,
right there.
yeah, I mean, it was a lot of what you were doing even a year or two
Oh
ago.
yeah, and you're way more detailed than I am. Just because you've been doing it longer, you know more tricks. And that
Eh,
I mean that
I just
comes with
make it up as I
any
go.
yeah, pretty much. Oh, I didn't know all this crap. I had to make a lot of mistakes before I figured out all the crap I know. But yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that's any position of any kind of job is you start off as an idiot, and as you keep making more and more mistakes, or if you keep learning from the older heads, eventually you'll figure it out.
hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much more to the development, and there's so much more that goes into every little thing. And like I said, if you like, there's a lot of people like one of the videos that I still need to record is, I did the one for my day job, but like, how do you get into game accessibility? How do you get into all this advocacy and consulting work? And I think a lot of people may sort of think that it is a little bit easier than it actually is, because if you want to do it right, you got to put a lot into it,
Oh yeah, and my and
and
my
you
whole
have to give the developers what they need.
my whole thing is we're at least in terms of the advocacy parties, we are basically just consumers with ideas. They don't have to listen
Pretty
to
much,
us,
yeah.
they choose to listen to us, and that in and of itself is a victory to me. And if they add something that we suggest, all's the better.
100% agree.
I mean, even educating, because a lot of the devs, good God, a lot of the devs don't know that accessibility isn't this monolithic thing that cannot be scaled. That it can be as
Hmm.
simple as adding in background options for subtitles, or adding in audio, audio, like with Hades, for example. All the great audio that they did in that game, all the
It
audio
was
panning
fantastic.
and all the sound effects. Not even getting into the voice acting, which was phenomenal,
Oh
but
God, yeah.
just the sound effects for everything and how everything had a different sound effect. That was just Supergiant being really good at what they do. That had nothing to do with accessibility, but it ended up almost making the game blind playable. They ended up making a mod for it, but I mean, still.
That's See, that's another thing. I was gonna recommend two specific game accessibility conference talks. One, of course, was that one that I already mentioned, the Project Black Cat. But then there was another one. I think it's called Not Like This. It was like the last session of the day on Tuesday, and they talk about it from like the business side, and it was a really interesting topic because they talk about like, the way that upper management sees things and what you have to get through, especially in like a big studio and everything. It was a really good thing. I think you would actually find that one really
I pr-
interesting.
I probably would, because my thinking about in terms of upper management and profit margins is, I believe that unless it is an egregious amount of work, the amount of work that you would put into making the game more accessible would be balanced out by the sheer amount of PR that you get for making the game more accessible. Like if you make a big accessibility get
Oh
for a
yeah.
game, like if you make like another Last of Us 2 where it's super accessible, all the
Hmm.
work that went into that instead of something else would be paid for by itself just by marketing the game as accessible as it is. That's where I think Naughty
And
Dog really dropped the ball.
you're gonna gain a real loyal customer base too.
And that's exactly my point. You pay a little now in terms of time spent on making the game accessible, but you gain so much good PR, so much
Oh yeah.
goodwill that pays dividends, like big time dividends down the line. And if you would like the inverse example of that, I direct you to CD Projekt Red.
Oh yeah, we won't. Hmm. Yep. Yep.
That is the
Well, and
best
and what?
inverse of my example. How to burn all your goodwill in one day.
Oh Lord, no kidding.
Those Polish
Well,
bastards speed ran that one.
they, they did
Not
indeed.
even the
Well, and
devs. The devs knew it was going bad. They tried to
oh
warn
yeah,
us.
the devs, but they're like, no, you got to get it out now.
They were our
Okay.
marauder shields. They tried to prevent us from those horrible, horrible game.
Yeah. Well, and what you were literally just talking about is like the audio design in Hades. That was another theme, and I talked about this in today's video, is that one of the themes that I saw across a lot of the sessions is up to this point, accessibility has really been largely thought of as, oh, we're going to take this base game that is made for able-bodied people, and then we're going to, even if we do it from the beginning, we're still looking at it as far as adding extra features to make this otherwise inaccessible mainstream game playable. And the right way to really look at it is, don't look at it as how many features does the game have, and don't look at it like, oh, in order for the game to be accessible, it needs to have these features. Because if you design your game natively just well, and like I said, that was a good example, is if you have Hades and you have like really good environmental audio design and panning audio and everything, even though there aren't any audio accessibility issues in the base game, there were still people who could play it.
That was the thing that killed me, was when I'd streamed it, and Brandon, Super Blind Man,
Yeah,
back when he and I hung out, he was in my Twitch chat. He's like, "Wow, the audio design's so good in this game. I bet I could play it." And I was like, "Well, do you want a copy of it or something?" And he's like, "No, I've got it on Epic Games." He plays it the next day. Turns out, if he uses OCR, OCR. If he uses OCR, he can actually play the thing, and that's kind of where it grew out from there. And I mean, I know there's other blind people who knew they could play it, but I was the one who
right.
I was the one who got him into
Yeah.
it, and he was the one who got a whole lot of other people into it.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I saw him getting into it too. And when I was playing it visually primarily, but I mean, I would still, of course, make use of the audio.
Oh
But
yeah, I tend to keep my music low, even though I really love the music in that game.
yeah, no, the presentation of all of their games is just fantastic.
That's the first Supergiant game I've actually been able to get into. I couldn't get into the other ones, but that wasn't an accessibility thing. That was just more.
I
eh.
I wanted to get into Bastion, but I was just terrible at it. I was bad at it. I love the narrator in that game, the way they did that.
Yeah, that was really well done.
That was so cool.
I'll tell you, a surprisingly accessible game is Nightmare Reaper. That dev was really good about adding options to that
Oddly,
game.
it is, and the problem, I don't know, there's something with that art style that just does not do well with my vision,
That doesn't surprise me.
because I mean, it looks cool, but it's like really low poly, and some things, a lot of things kind of, to me, they kind of tend to blend in, especially from a distance.
Yeah, the zombies are really bad about that.
And so, as much as I want to love it, like if they were in, when you're in the asylum, I could probably see that stuff, but that first level, I just don't like playing in that first level because it's all brown and
Yeah, you get other levels after that, but no, I totally get what you mean. My
I
best
wanted to get into it.
my best advice would be to use Cheat Engine to just give yourself all of the currencies.
Yeah.
And trust me, it doesn't make the game easier because the game is infinite. You just get New Game Plus, and the enemies just get harder and harder and harder.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's a cool game. Like I said, I've tried it a few times and I've just always, unfortunately, I've bounced off of it. Just something with my vision does not agree with that game.
Yeah, it's the same thing with me in Minecraft. Anything voxel game, or any voxel game, gives me a migraine. I don't know what it
Hmm.
is. Oh, John
Yeah.
tried so many mods. That was a fun week. Just mod after mod. One of these damn things is gonna work. Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I played a little bit of survival and stuff. Some of that is fun, but I was just like, when I started, I'm like, I wanted to build a castle, and I did that, and it turned out to be more of like a fort than a castle, because when I built that, there was no creative mode. I was playing it before there was a creative mode, and so in order to even build that project, I literally had this gaping quarry right outside of my castle.
I was gonna say you had to dig a moat or something to get all the creepers
Oh
off your
yeah, no,
ass.
I built this. I had this gaping quarry outside of like the left side of my castle, which I then proceeded to eventually cover over with dirt on the top couple layers, and then I made this underground fighting arena in this big quarry. Yeah, it was just like I said, you just got to go look at some of my Minecraft projects. It was
It was a
crazy.
thing.
Oh, I was hooked on it. Me and my friend were hooked on it for a good couple years there.
I ended up getting hooked on Terraria for a while, and eventually I'm gonna go back to it once the final release is out. I was so pissed about that. He's like 144 final release,
Mm.
145 final release. Okay, can you people just get off? I want to play the game when it's done. Is it done
Yeah.
yet? And now
That's
they've
another
added
one I had.
now they've
That one
added
I had a
UI
little trouble
zooming and
seeing. Oh, did they?
yeah, they've added UI zooming, they've added actual zooming, so you don't have to play it like 1366 by 768 to play the game anymore.
See, that might be worth looking into because that was the thing is I like the idea of a 2D Minecraft, but it was just so hard for me to see a lot of the UI in that game.
Yeah, yeah, that was a bitch for a long time.
Yeah, no, that was another one that I meant to play. I tried it and went, no, I don't have the patience for this.
They've also added an easier game mode where you can it I would say you could cheat, but it gives you the option to make the game unfairly hard too. So it's called journeyman
Yeah.
mode or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And the UI upgrades where you can zoom in everything, that was a couple of years ago, so it's
Yeah, I
well
haven't looked at it since probably 5 or better years ago.
well, it's well stuck in now in terms of accessible. It's as accessible as it could probably be. Which
Mm-hmm.
isn't
Mm-hmm.
saying that much because it's still blisteringly hard because it is Minecraft in 2D, but it's also way more combat oriented. So you've got to be on your shit, and I am not on my shit
Yeah.
when it comes to mouse aim. No, I'm not.
That Well, that's the other thing that I don't like is I do not like mouse aim in games like that.
I will stick to melee. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I liked. Did you ever play SteamWorld Dig?
I've heard of it. I kept seeing it around Steam for a long
If
time.
you like Terraria, play SteamWorld Dig. It is addictive. It's kind of like the combat and digging part of Terraria, and it's a lot easier to see. So there's SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2. They're both on Steam, and I haven't played much of the second one, but I played quite a bit of that first one.
Trying to damn. Can't
SteamWorld is
remember.
one word.
No, I had a game on mind and I can't remember what the damn thing was called. Well, when you've got 690 of the damn things in your Steam inventory, you're gonna forget one or two of them.
We won't even go into the shame of my Steam library.
Well, I mean, bundles. Just blame it on the bundles. That's what I do.
That's largely where I got them,
Yep.
bundles and sales.
Oh god, I'm a sale monkey. I finally stopped getting into sales last year when I
Yeah.
had to get my credit card under control a bit. I'm gonna be below 5,000
I
this next month, finally.
Woohoo!
For a briefest of moments, and then we got to get
Let's
chips mass
see.
removed, so that'll be 600 right back.
Yeah, I always say I don't know if I should be proud or ashamed of my Steam library, and I think the answer is yes.
There you go. That's a ticket.
Let's see. I'm actually looking it up right now. Let's see. Yeah. Any wild guesses?
I'm gonna guess 1,200.
As I said, I don't know if I should be proud or ashamed. Try 2729.
Damn, that's cool. That's how you can tell you do it for a gig, as opposed to a hobbyist like me. It's not a job
And
until I get paid to do it.
the but you know what the worst thing about it is?
How many of them you haven't played?
Well, no, well, there's that. Thanks. But no, the worst part is, yeah, I've gotten a few codes from developers on occasion, but I would hazard a guess to say 90% or more, even if it was bundles or sales, I've paid for all of them.
I can
So when I
count.
see people bitching about like, oh, I gotta pay for a game, I'm like, shut up.
I fucking hate those people. I mean, I beg for codes as bad as anybody else, but I mean, if a game is good enough, I will pay for it. I'll never pay full. It is
Right.
so rare that I pay full price. The last game I paid full price for was Error North, and I do not regret that. But there are so few games that have ever been worth full price, let alone
I
nowadays.
I just well, that's the thing is like like we were talking about complaining about lack of accessibility, but the one like I understand that it's hard to make a game, and we complain that it's hard to add accessibility things and it's hard to make a game period. But I do have to say that I am getting very frustrated, especially like for a while we had it really good where PC ports were amazing. And now PC ports have kind of become shit. Like
Yeah,
they're not optimized and
I've noticed that like the last 2 years, and then before that, it was for like a good
it was
3 4 years.
amazing.
It was amazing, and then it just went right to shit again. I have to
Yeah.
assume it's got something to do with all the crypto. GPU shortage bullshit that was there for a while.
Well, and they're designing for consoles, you know. It's like, well, we
That
got next
too.
gen consoles we got to do too now. But like, but yeah, no, I mean, that's one thing that I struggle with is I don't know really who to go out and ask. And I feel, I mean, yes, it is kind of what I do for the channel and for accessibility work and everything, but I'm not I'm not a person who's good at like going out and like I feel like I'm begging for a code and I feel like I'm entitled and I shouldn't be.
Well,
Like,
you present it in the same way that I do. You just, I'm an accessibility reviewer. I'd like to review your game. That's pretty much how I do it. And if they say no, okay, I'll put it on my wish list and hope it goes on sale.
right, right. No, but it's just one of those things where I just have trouble reaching out and asking that kind of questions like, "Hey, can I have a review code? I'm a person. You should give me one."
The
I'm
only
like,
time I ever
"Mm,
feel shitty about that is when I have to ask in public because I can't get a hold of the developer privately. Because when you ask
yeah,
publicly, oh, people are assholes about that. And it's exactly what you say. Why are you begging? Why don't you just buy it yourself? It's like,
right."
bro, I do this for a living, kind of. I can't afford this shit.
Like I said, I'm glad I have the jobs that I do because like I said, now that I actually have an income and like I said, I still save money. I'm not blowing all my money on tech and games, but it's like, yeah, my good God, my Steam library. That doesn't even count Switch and other consoles and good God.
Well, you look at it this way. When you get a girlfriend slash wife, you'll be able to get her into gaming very, very easily. Look, here's a list of 2,700 games. You'll find
Yeah.
something you like.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It might be Honey Pop, it might be Guitar Shoujo, it might be Mario World. I don't know. You'll find something.
Oh yeah.
Fucking Honey Pop. That game is ridiculous. I can't believe that they made it. They made that game, made a sequel. I can't believe they went all in on that premise. That is
I don't
so
even know
great.
what that is.
Google it.
Yeah. I can hazard a guess as to what it could be.
Perverted Bejeweled.
That's exactly what I thought it was.
There you go. I still
That's
can't
exactly what
believe they made it. I can't believe Twitch still banned it. They didn't ban Cyberpunk.
Yeah. I don't know. It to me the whole I mean that's a whole other issue is like, you know, oh, you can stream like I could stream Dead Island 2 no problem. I could like be eviscerating people. God forbid you show a little bit of titty, you know.
Yeah, London was saying the exact same thing on the Discord today about how asinine it is, and I've been saying that since the '80s, man.
Oh
Why is
yeah,
it
for
why
sure.
is it bad to show genitalia, but it's good to show people's genitalia getting ripped off?
Yeah.
That doesn't make
Yep.
sense. That's not what a sane and compassionate world does. That's what
Yeah.
Thunderdome does.
Yeah, no, it's never made sense to me either.
But hey, I mean, look at it this way. If it was that way, Honey Pop would be about as popular as Mortal Kombat, so.
Yeah. Well, hey, yeah. And I haven't even looked into it. Like, I don't even know if the filter's on or off or whatever. But I've just heard there's a lot of weird stuff on Steam if you turn like the safe filter off.
I had to turn off the adult
There's
filter because I
some
was just sick
weird
of
shit
seeing
in
it.
there.
I was just tired of seeing it all because it
I
was
must have it
so
on.
much.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I've heard that's just gotten exponentially high over the last short little while because I must have it on because I don't see a ton of that.
Yeah, they're all honey. They're either Honey Pop knockoffs where they're bejeweled, or they're like visual novels, or it's just
There was
terrible.
one, yeah, there was one that I saw that was like this. I don't remember. It was like a 2D side-scrolling like space shooter, but then it had these like weird anime cutscenes that were just really messed up.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about, and I can't remember the name of it.
It was like an anime type thing.
Subverse. That was the one. Wait, maybe
I don't know if that was the one. I don't know if that was the one I'm thinking of or not.
well, that is also a pornography game. For me,
Yeah.
there's Corruption of Champions 2, and then there's all the rest of the crap that's on there. And weirdly, Corruption of Champions 2, super accessible. Not to me, but to everyone else. Because I liked how they did it with the old Flash version because the text was right where I needed it to be. But this new one has it
Mm.
like spread over the entire full screen, and the font they're using isn't exactly right, so my eye can't see it properly. It's like, damn it! The ultimate version of that kind of thing happening. Cataclysm: Dark Days Ahead.
Hmm.
It is the apex for what I've been saying for years. Give us the options to play your game our way. Cool.
Right.
They gave so many options, and I can't play their game.
Oh no.
Because in order to
Ooh.
see what your character can see, I have to zoom out too far for me to be able to see what my character sees. The little icons, the little tiles are too
Oh,
small. Even if
gotcha.
I
Okay.
even if I put on nearsighted, I can't see that far. It's like, damn it.
Oh, geez. Ooh, there's a Devolver Digital sale, it looks like, this weekend.
Oh yeah. There's a bunch of good games they've done.
Yeah, no kidding.
If you don't have it, get Broforce. It's
Oh, I've done a
brotacular.
video. Oh, man. Robocop is the best.
Robocop is cool. I like all of them. They all are
Yeah, no,
great.
they're all great. No, I did a video for that a few years ago. I think I released that, I think, as kind of a gag, but I released that as like a 4th of July
Yeah.
video one year.
I love that it's South Africans who made it. That just makes it so much funnier.
It does. I think there's a sequel in development for that.
No, it's an upgrade. They're doing a big revamp in 2023.
Oh, is it? I didn't know if it was. I thought it was like a sequel.
I just saw the trailer today. I
Oh,
think it's like
serious?
Broforce Forever or something. You can Google it. It's like a minute and a half.
Nice.
It is fucking wonderful. I don't even like action movies, but I fucking love that game. It's
Oh,
so
bro, no, Broforce is
ridiculous.
just dumb. But that's the thing is, I love dumb games like that. Like even like the Stanley Parable or um Jazz Punk. Did you ever play Jazz Punk?
No, I never did. Closest I got was
Oh,
Jazz Jackrabbit back in the day.
oh, I played that. No, 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 dude. Jazz Punk is you got to play Jazz Punk.
If
It's
you're
like a first person like spy parody thing, but it's nerd humor and it's like Microsoft Paint art and it's
oh
just
god,
it's dumb as hell and it's wonderful.
if you want to see dumb fun games, look up Matt Glanville. He's a solo dev. He makes these little $3 games that are amazingly fun. Like I know you love Vampire Survivor. His most recent one, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I did a review of it, and it is Vampire Survivor except better.
Okay.
And he all of the bitching that I had from the demo, he added all of the options I told him to, or I asked him if he could. He has been so
Nice.
good about accessibility because they're his babies. He wants everybody to play his games.
Yeah, you'll have to remind me, send me a thing in the chat later or the Steam chat later,
Yep.
just to look them up.
Actually, let's see if I can do this. If I can do this, I can send you a link now. Let's try moving this window over here. Pull up my OBS. Hey, it does work. Okay, cool. I can send you that link
I
really
have too
quick.
many windows open.
uh, uh, crap, what the hell is that game called? Oh, it's got to be here somewhere. Gunsuit Guardians, that's what it's called.
Oh, okay, I'll just look it up real quick.
Send you a link. There you go.
Let's see.
Excuse
One
me.
word or two? Gunsuit, Gun.
Yeah, it's one word and then Guardians.
Ah, found it.
Yep. It is very, very fun, especially for the price. And he also did like
Okay, early
Death
access.
Ball or
Oh,
Dodgeball or something like that.
$3.
And
Okay.
that one's also really good. Any game he's made is really fun to some degree or other.
Oh, this looks okay.
Yeah.
This looks pretty good. I'm just gonna add that to my cart for next time I buy something. It'll just be like, yeah, it's $3. Who cares?
But yeah, he I love finding indie devs like him who love what they do because you can just
Oh, for sure.
tell. And then I might as well since I'm sharing the indie devs, might as well plug my favorite indie dev game. Where are you? Oh, fuck off with your age gating. Don't you age gate me.
Oh,
There you go.
the Doom roguelike thing.
Oh yeah, Jupiter
Um,
Hell.
Jupiter Hell. Is that the one you were thinking of?
Which one?
No, is that the one that you were thinking of that you were searching for?
No, this is the dope game.
Oh. No, I got to get back into Jupiter Hell again. I was pretty hardcore into it for like 2 weeks, and then I got distracted by so many other things, and then I never got back to it.
Well, your milieu has always been first-person shooters, and Jupiter Hell is not a first-person shooter, but it is very
No,
satisfying.
it is not, but it is cool though.
I wish they could have gotten Jennifer
Oh,
Hale. Oh man, to get both the
did
Shepherds doing
you
that.
did you you got to look up if you haven't played it. Look up Unmetal.
Ew.
Unmetal.
Unmetal.
It's fully voice acted, and it is a just stupid as hell like riff parody on Metal Gear
I
Solid.
was just gonna say it looks like Metal Gear.
It's it's so like I need to get back to that again too. I did a video for like the demo, and I think like I streamed it one time. It is dumb and in is in the best way.
Oh, it's from the same people who did on Epic. I had that game.
Oh yeah, I haven't played on Epic yet, but I think I did buy it. It was on sale. I think it was like a bundle sale or something. But no, I remember seeing Unmetal at E3, and I'm like, one year, and I'm like, oh, I gotta play this. This looks just dumb. I love it.
Oh, you should do an update video for Project Warlock 2 at some point because they've added so much.
That game is awesome, dude.
Right?
That game is so good.
I'm waiting for a big update before I do my follow
I
up. But I've been keeping an eye on them and they've been adding
Yeah,
so much.
well, they totally redid because the levels were super long, and then they cut them up to make them more manageable, and they redid them a little bit because people were getting lost in them.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
But no, I literally had to stop playing it because I was playing it on my old rig before I got it upgraded, and it got to the point I made it into like well into episode 2, but between the boss and the horde that were coming at me, like my old computer was just dying trying to play it, and I couldn't play it anymore because it just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, the thing that pisses me off is, oh god, this is what actually drove me nuts today. I was gonna play Borderlands. I was gonna go all through the Borderlands games because it's been something I've been meaning to do forever. So I fire up Borderlands
Mm.
Game of the Year edition, and there's input lag. And if there's one thing my crappy eye cannot stand, it is input lag. It
Oh.
drives me nuts because I'm moving my hand and the mouse isn't moving and my character isn't moving, and it's only for a split second, but that split second drives me insane.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't fix it. So it's like, well, if I can't
I
play the first one, what's the fucking point of playing the other
Right.
ones?
I played the first one or two. Actually, I played like the first two, and then I think the spin-off game. But I kind of got tired of. Especially the problem right now is I don't have as much tolerance as I used to because now the games are starting to add accessibility. I know what it's like, and now when I have to stop every 2 seconds to read about the freaking loot or manage my inventory, and if it's hard for me to see it, I'm just like, I don't want to waste my time with this because it's tedious.
You've tasted the divine fruit.
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean things like, Diablo or even like Harry Potter, if you put the text to speech on, it's like, oh, I can manage my inventory and I can take a break and listen to it.
One of the things I really liked about Grim Dawn is there's a mod called Rainbow Loot, and it puts colors over all of that crap. Like if something is ice damage, it's blue. If something's fire damage, it's orange.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
that is insanely accessible, and I wish so many more games did that because I don't need
That's a
to
good
be
idea.
able I don't need to be able to read it. I can just on the fly look at the colors. There we go. And I didn't
Well,
realize how important that was until I tried to play Path of Exile after playing Grim Dawn. I was like, "Oh no,
well,
that's terrible."
and if the problem is if they color code anything, it's more of the rarity. It's like, oh, it's like a, blue, purple, red, whatever.
Oh, they did
That's the way
that.
they.
They did that too, but they would also like because you know how it goes. They'll say something is epic, so it'll be purple. But then in the
Right.
bylines, they'll do like the fire damage that line will be orange, and then physical damage that line will be yellow. Ice damage that line will be blue, and acid
Oh,
damage that line will be
that's
green.
a fantastic idea.
Yeah. Actually, let me find it real quick. I can show you a screenshot of what I mean. I've really got to just leave this up on my second window so I can navigate around while I'm doing this. I am a professional. That's what I am.
Mm-hmm.
Grim Dawn Rainbow Filter.
Oh, I could just Google it, I'm sure too.
Uh, Yeah, here we go. And when you have a game like Grim Dawn where there's tons of loot, you get crap like that. I don't know what any of that stuff says, but I know what all of it does.
Right.
And that's the important thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, devs can do that. I mean, that's relatively simple.
Oh yeah, I would think so.
And it's just, they don't know it's an idea to be done.
Right, right. No, I mean when you said that, I'm like, God, that makes just a lot of sense.
Yeah, and those are the best. Those are the best times when I can talk to a dev like that, and I'll go, "Wow, that is a really good idea, and that's not that hard to
Mm-hmm.
implement."
No, no, not at all. I wouldn't think.
I mean, something like that in Diablo, or even better, Path of Exile. Fucking hell.
Yeah, I mean the nice thing at least about Diablo 4 is the inventory speaks.
Oh, the
It's
nice thing
great.
about Diablo 4 is that it's not Path of Exile levels of fucking passive forests that you have to wade through. I still can't make heads or tails of that fucking game.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's the thing is I like you like a lot more like the strategy and RPGs and stuff, and I like RPGs in that, but I tend to like things more real time. So like Mass Effect or like stuff where you're actually controlling a character, and like I used to always call it like one of my friends in college was always super into Final Fantasy, and so I would always give him shit. I would always call it menu fantasy.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's like, yeah, I'm gonna play that, and I would just like go into like my start menu or like go to the file menu in a program. Like, yeah, I'm playing a game, just to be a smart ass.
I'm not even arguing with you. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
Well, my
but
my whole
yeah.
thing has always been I just prefer turn based because even though I do like my Hades and the like, and I like my
Hmm.
twitchy gameplay, I also like being able to think from time to time, even though I think way too fast, move way too fast, and die really early.
Well, and like I said, the other thing with that is now that some of these games are adding some accessibility, I don't mind them as much as I used to because either they're voice acted or they have text to speech. Like if you wanted to play, what was that Windows game where they that just insanely complex
Which one,
text?
Factorio or no, War Sim?
No, War Sim. Actually, I just saw something on Twitter yesterday or today. Is doing some other update to
Yeah,
it.
104. Yep, I saw it on my byline on Steam. He keeps
But
adding to
and
it.
but the other problem with those types of games is I can't play them because I don't have time. I can't put like 700 hours. I'm lucky I got through Harry Potter earlier this year.
Yeah, I never did. I had to quit. The
I'm
only
lucky I got through that.
the only way I could play Harry Potter was by playing it on hard mode because that stupid yellow circle that kept popping up and distracting me.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I can't fumble my fingers around the keyboard or controller to do combat right. So I'm kind of
I
stuck.
played it. I played it on normal until about three-fourths of the way through the game, and then it wasn't that it was hard, but everything was just so spongy that I'm like, screw this,
Yeah,
and I popped it down to easy.
I've gotten really sick of games wasting my time, and I didn't realize how much games wasted my time. Like I'm doing a descriptive of Final Fantasy VI, and I am
Hmm.
so done with random encounters. Fuck all of that shit.
That's the other thing I hated about older RPGs. Like, at least if you can see them on the map, you can kind of engage them or avoid them.
That
Like,
alone makes Chrono Trigger the superior game. Not even counting the better music, the better story, the better everything else. Just being able
yeah,
to see the enemies before you fight them.
I think one of the first games I really got, well, the Mario RPG was actually not too bad because that had that and it had more of the active, like timing based stuff
Oh,
in
Mario
the.
RPGs were so good.
But then, like the first one that I really, the JRPG that I really actually played because it was real time was the Tales of Symphonia
Yeah, that's a good one. I had that for the
because it
360.
was real time. I had it on the GameCube.
The last recent JRPG I played was Persona 5, and I want to describe that one sometime because that thing is fucking massive. It took me
I
like a
want to,
hundred hours to beat it, and I'm like, by the end, I'm like, oh god damn it, just go already.
yeah, I want to play, like, I do kind of want to try the Tales of Arise I kind of want to try the new what I can't think of the name of it now. They used to call it Final Fantasy Adventure.
Saga
Um,
Frontier.
Not Saga Frontier. It it was real time. It was like a kind of almost more like a Zelda type of deal.
Yeah, like Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana. There you go.
Oh, don't get the
Yeah.
re-release. The re-release is
Oh, is
god
it bad?
awful.
Oh, is it?
All the re-releases that Square has done lately have been terrible.
Well, the only reason I thought about it is because I think it's fully voice acted now, which would help me.
Oh yeah, that would help. I don't remember what else. I know there's gameplay issues that they introduced, but they may have patched them,
Yeah.
fixed them up. I
Yeah.
wish
But I mean,
Final
say,
Fantasy 14 was more accessible because it is already so accessible. I
yeah,
mean, you can
I
make
never
that
got into
fucking
MMOs.
you can make that UI huge.
Mm-hmm.
Like way bigger than anybody could ever realistically need.
Sure.
Unless you're playing on a 4K, then it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's the funny thing is I still got a 1080p monitor and like I don't really want a 4K monitor
No, me
because
neither. I can
I
barely
wouldn't mind
see.
OLED.
I
I'd
can
really
barely
get like
see.
an OLED.
I can barely see in 1080p for Christ's sake.
Oh, I use Windows. I pop on Windows Magnifier on and off like 100 times a day, man. Like it's just because it's just so instant and it works.
You can't even get a 1280 monitor anymore.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean Windows Magnifier. I use
Yeah.
that all the time. Turn it on and off.
Well, yeah, 20 by 800, of course.
But yeah,
Oh
like even at
man.
1080p. But yeah,
So, do you have any upcoming things you got going on that you can, talk about? Obviously.
yeah. Well, like I said, I've probably got I may have one or two things coming up here that I might not be able to talk about. But one thing that I have recorded already, but I'm just waiting for the official kind of version update to come out. Is we're gonna get hopefully within the next short while, week or two, the 6.0 version of the Toby accessibility mod.
Oh, for Doom.
Yep.
Nice. I remember that video
And
too.
well, he's done a lot to it. He's actually made it a lot easier to get into because now what he did is he put everything into one zip file. So you have GZ Doom, you have the mod, you have the level packs, and he's actually even implemented it to where, just like you would in vanilla Doom, if you want to choose Knee Deep in the Dead or Thy Flesh Consumed or whatever episode you wanted, now you can choose the blind accessible, the deluxe map pack 1 or 2 right in the game, so you
Nice.
don't have to launch each of the files. Basically, the only thing is like you have to once you unzip it. I think because he's just referencing the direct path, and so to know where it is, he just said dump just unzip it and then copy the Toby folder into like just in the root of your C drive, because then it knows where it is,
Yeah.
and then you just open it, you paste in your doom2.wad file, and then all you got to do is run the play Toby Doom, and boom, you're in.
Yeah, batch files and the like are very helpful.
Yeah. And then he's changed, like instead of the big thunk thunk wall sound, he's made that a lot better. There's separate sounds for switches versus doors. There's um because that was like any sort of switch or door would just trigger the same sound
Yeah.
before. He's got unique pickup and equip sounds for all of the weapons. There's just more enemies. There's just it seems really polished. Like if he were able to sell it, this is one that you could almost kind of box up and actually sell.
I was just gonna say, I know there have been some GZ Doom mods that have been like full on projects that I'm pretty sure he could take what he's learned from this and actually make a game out of it.
Well, and actually, that's a really interesting point because I wonder. The problem is you still need how do they get around? Like yeah, I know there's games
I'm trying to remember
that are
what that
using
one is
GZ
called.
Doom. Well, I know Sulaco is doing it. The Place is doing it.
Oh, I know I've got one that I got from a sale that I really hated.
No, but the thing is they're their own standalone games, but how does that work if you need the Doom 2.wad?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Because if he could just like package that sucker up into something you could just put on like GOG or Steam when it's done.
Oh, did I sell the son of a bitch? I must have. I must have returned it.
Oh, it's funny, in my Steam library, I've made my own category just called retro FPS, and I have so many, dude. It's not even funny.
Oh, Slime Rancher 2. I forgot about that game.
I haven't even played the first one. It was one I wanted to get around to, but I just haven't had time.
Yeah, I think the first one was, well, they're both a bit too floaty for me normally, but they are damn
Hmm.
cute.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, they look neat.
Oh man. So the Toby Doom stuff, you got anything else going on? I know you're a busy dude.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I got, the whole day job thing. Just trying to keep up with the channel. There's so many games coming out in the next like 2 months that I have no idea when I'm even going to be able to play half of them. And there's already games I've gotten for through this year that I haven't even put as much time into. Dead Space or Hi-Fi Rush or um, Dead Island 2 now. That one I did get a code. Did get a review code for. But
Of all the
no,
problems to
there's
have, though, an abundance of games to play is hardly a bad one.
no, that's not bad at all. And I don't know what's going to be announced. Like I said, there's no E3, but now there's going to be like 15 events all around June somewhere.
Yeah. We'll keep the spirit of E3 alive. Oh
Oh yeah, well that was like 2020 when it was like non E3 and everyone had like there was events from like June to August.
god, keeping up with all that. I didn't even
Yeah.
bother trying. I just waited for games that piqued my
I
interest.
didn't keep up with a ton of it, but there were certain things that I wanted to follow. So I had watched some of it and I would try to cover some of it on the channel. But like looking forward to QuakeCon eventually. And even like now that they've done it now, what, 2, 3 years now, the Realms Deep, which is not exclusively, but largely focused on retro FPS. It's like a show in like August or I think September.
Yeah, Nightmare Reaper's going to be on that probably.
Yeah, probably.
He did a big
We have a
update
release
last
date
year.
for Trepang 2.
Nice.
That game is badass. Have you played that?
I have not.
If you like the original Fear, it's like a spiritual successor to that, and it's so good.
Never played that one either.
Oh,
I
Fear
am
is so.
I
Fear is.
am
Yeah, I love shooters though.
I am woefully uncultured when it comes to FPS games just because if it's not kill 'em all, I'm terrible at it.
No, it is just kill them all. But it's got bullet time.
That's what it was. That was why I never got into it. I never got into the bullet time thing. It gave me a headache.
Oh, it was so. It's so fun. The one that I keep forgetting to send you the link. Look up a game called Meat Grinder.
Oh, that definitely sounds right up my alley.
Hey, did you ever play the game called Cluster Truck?
Yeah.
What if okay, so Meat Grinder is and it's out now. What if Cluster Truck,
Bro,
except you
what
you
the
could
hell?
you could boot people off or and you shoot dudes in the face and you can't stop moving or you die.
It's a
And you
mixture.
have a grappling hook. It's fucking insane.
It's a mixture of fucking. It's a mixture of cluster truck and road redemption.
Yeah, kinda.
Holy crap! They
It
really
is
did good on the video.
insane.
That is going on my wish list.
I haven't done a video for the full game yet, but I did a demo time for it a while back. And whew, it is hard.
Oh, I imagine.
And I'm not gonna spoil where the game goes, but the game goes in some places that you are totally not expecting. It's dumb as hell, but it's getting really hard now.
Speaking of hard, how'd you like Postal Brain Damage?
That was another one I need to get back to because my older machine was a little grumpy at later levels.
Yeah, I
So now that
love
I have a new rig, I can play anything now.
I love that those guys that I met them back when they were doing their own thing. Now they're doing publishing work and all kinds of shit. It's just you love to see it.
Yeah. No, brain damage was good. Oh, I hate those stupid those dogs though.
Well, yeah,
The
dogs
things that
in
come out of the
general.
dog houses.
Yeah, those things are nightmares.
Those are brutal to take down.
The ones I hate are the fucking flying enemies. Those always screw me up. But then again, I'm always looking
Yeah.
down because I'm trying to make sure I don't fall off a ledge.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's just way too much to play.
Yeah,
There's
spoiled for
way too
choice.
much. Indeed.
Well,
But
anyway, it
yeah,
looks
that's
like we are about
all I got
winding
going
down.
on.
Yeah, we could go on for
Yeah.
hours, just like with
Oh yeah.
John.
Oh yeah. Well, I bet you this one tops John's. I bet you
Oh
we've
yeah, we've gone
gone
longer
God
than
knows how
John's.
long.
We've gone longer than
This,
John's. We've gone, yeah, almost 2 hours.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yep. Well, I've always been a pull my chain type, and you apparently are the same way in terms of this.
Well, yeah, no, like I said, yeah, no, I mean, I'm introverted, but if there's something actually worth talking about, yeah, I'll babble all day. I mean, look at my videos. Like, I'm gonna do a short video today.
Yeah.
Fucking
An
hour
hour
later.
later.
God dang it.
Well,
Yeah.
up to YouTube it goes. There's a reason
Yeah,
I try to
exactly.
find. There's a reason I try to find the 2 to 3 hour fractal zooms just in case.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna ask where you kind of got those, just or what the because it almost looks like an old Windows screensaver.
Yep, I just googled fractal zoom. They zoom in on different parts of Mandelbrot's and they put little graphical bits around the sides.
That's actually not a bad idea, just for especially some of the like the channel updates and stuff where I just have a wallpaper or the YouTube page or something.
Yeah, I figured people could use a visual. Also, it kind of helps calm me down so I'm not, stepping on anybody.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
Makes
like,
sense.
ooh, it's hypnotizing.
Oh yeah, I was kind of when I was I'd have it on in the background, but I'd look over at it every once in a while when I was listening to your other thing this late earlier.
Well, you get the pastel print, you lucky duck.
Uh,
I just picked one at random. But
gotcha.
yeah, if you're ever interested in that, just fractal zoom. This one, this one, this
Gotcha.
one. Ah, there's a 3 hour one. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, sometimes it really is that simple.
Hey, works for me. The only thing that I worry about with that is like, are some of this stuff copyrighted, and then if you get it used in your video, then somebody gets pissed about it.
I can't imagine because I had a program for DOS that did the exact same thing.
Hmm.
It didn't have the pretty art with it, but it still would zoom like dumb amounts into a fractal.
Right.
And since fractals are infinitely recursive, it just keeps
Hmm.
going.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, that has been the interview with Jesse. That has been the interview with Illegally Sighted. Be sure to follow him on the YouTubes, which I will link in the description below. I hope you all enjoyed episode 2 of the Triple S interviews. And I have been Mad Max, and that has been Jesse, and we will see you all next time, such as we can see.